Hannytime. A daily look at sports from our resident historian. Your sports break during your lunch break. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. Here's Charles Hannegriff.
And we welcome you into another edition of Hannytime 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff along with Mario Jerez and Jacob Beck. Shea Dixon with us here in about 15 minutes. Last media availability to watch practice today before spring wraps up, other than the spring game, of course. And we'll talk to him about that. Plus the what'd you say to me, Mario, when I walked in today? The most
media attention I've ever seen been paid to a transfer target for a women's sport at LSU.
I think that's accurate. I think that's very accurate. All I can tell you is that if Van Lith ends up here, okay, and you got the bulk, not all, but the bulk of the national champions returning, or no, I shouldn't say the bulk, a lot, okay? Angel Reese coming back, okay? Let's just put it like that. Flage's coming back, okay? Plus the number one recruiting class in the country, plus two-time All-ACC guard. I mean, it's almost not fair, right? Of course, I watched UConn and Tennessee and, more recently South Carolina put together rosters that resembled Olympic teams. So, hey, I'll play along. Shay's going to have some stuff on that. Plus LSU practice. John Jancic, new special teams coordinator, talked to the media today. Mason Smith was back at practice, or I guess more at practice. He's been out there, but the participation was a little bit more fluid today. So we'll talk with Shay about that. Dwayne Colucci at the bottom of the hour. NBA playoffs are underway, as are the NHL playoffs. We'll get some angles with Colucci. I do want to start, though, with the UL Lafayette LSU baseball game tonight at the box. Ordinarily, the midweek games are what they are. We don't do a whole lot of previewing and a whole lot of strategizing, a whole lot about them on the shows. We talk about them after they're over a little bit. But this one's a little bit different for two reasons. Number one, the rivalry between the Raging Cajuns and the Tigers is a little bit more intense than, say, Northwestern State or McNeese or Nichols comes to the box. It's not. There is not the animosity that there was 20 years ago. I'm not suggesting that. But it's a highly competitive series when you get into the midweek. In fact, I think the last 5 meetings, I think it's 3-2. So it's always a little bit more, what can I say? I don't want to say chippy, because there was a time when this series was really chippy. It's not chippy anymore. It's just a little bit higher intensity, which I think is good, especially now that you're getting later into the season. So that's part of it. But the real story tonight that I think the LSU fans are going to want to talk about is Javen Coleman making his return. Javen Coleman last pitched in a game for LSU on February 26th of last year against Southern. So roughly 14 months since he's been on the mound. And for LSU, it couldn't come at a better time, where the injuries have really jumped into this bullpen especially, and left LSU a little bit short-handed. Coleman, there was a little bit of buzz this weekend when he got up in the bullpen. I don't know how serious Johnson was about possibly bringing him in to the game. I guess serious enough to have him warming up. But I think this is such a better spot for him to make his return. A little bit of a review on Coleman, and you're going back a couple years now. He was committed to LSU for a long time. He committed as a young player out of Texas, left-handed pitcher. He was the number 2 left-handed pitcher in Texas the year that he came out. And mostly it was because this guy strikes out a lot of people. He misses a lot of bats. And so in his freshman season in 21, he was 3-2, and in 32 innings, he struck out 43 guys, okay? So that was the good part. The reason that Javen Coleman had and still has a dynamic upside is his ability to strike people out. And when you strike out 43 and 32 innings as a true freshman, there's the ability to miss bats. Now, the problem that he had was that he walked too many people, which is not uncommon for freshmen, and he gave up a bunch of hits. So his freshman season, he went 3-2, 5.79 ERA, but he got better as the season went on. A lot of that was places where he got hard hit early in the season. Could really see the progression for him, and especially since those Maneri teams didn't have a ton of left-handed pitching, he was a guy they started to count on at the end of that 21 season. So there was a lot of promise going into 22 that he was going to be somebody that they really counted on, and he got 3 outings in the first couple of weeks, and then he blew it. He blew it out head-to-head to Tommy John. So 14 months, that's about right, unfortunately. Sometimes you can get it done a little bit less than that, but that's about right. He's been working his way back. They've been talking about him for a while. And therein lies the ability for him to come back and really be, in 3 or 4 weeks, an important part of what they're doing down there. I mean, they're down some arms. They're down Chase Shores. They're down Garrett Edwards. For the moment, they're down Nate Ackenhausen. I don't know what, any of the status of those guys is going to be. My guess is that Shores and Edwards are done, but I don't know that for sure. And then Ackenhausen, they hoping to get back this weekend. So if you bring in a Gavin Guidry, and he's starting to show you some things, and you bring in a Griffin Herring, and he's starting to show you some things, if you can bring in another guy, well, now you're starting to rebuild the pitching staff. When they talk about next man up, it's a wonderful cliche, right? Oh, just the next man up. No, generally the next man up is not as good as the guy he's replacing. And when you're in a college roster in any sport, but baseball especially, you can't call anybody up from LSU Eunice. You can't make a trade with North Carolina State for a pitcher. You got to go with the guys you got. So an influx of available arms, especially a left-handed arm, is a wonderful thing. UL Lafayette comes in record of 25-12. The RPI on the Cajuns is 76. They have played 7 games in the Q1. They got 1 out of 3 against Campbell, 1 out of 3 against Troy, and they lost to Mississippi State. A little bit of a quirk in their schedule. They have no Q2 games. So 30 of their 37 games this season have been against teams with the RPI of 113 or better. Whether they make the postseason or not, I think is still very much up for grabs. Right now they are out. But the Sun Belt is the number 5 RPI league in the country behind the Big Four, the SEC, the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big 12. They're next. And right this second, they look like a 3-bid league. Coastal Carolina would be in whether or not they won the tournament. They are a top 10 RPI right now. Southern Miss is a top 20 RPI. Keep these numbers in mind. These are teams that you might see in Baton Rouge in the postseason. And then Old Dominion is 49 and Troy is 35. So for the Cajuns to get in, they have some work to do, but the heavy lifting on their schedule is still ahead of them. They've still got 3 games left with Coastal. That's in Lafayette at the end of April. They got 3 games with Texas State, who's a top 70 RPI, in Lafayette in the middle of May. And then they finish up with 3 games in Hattiesburg to end the regular season. So the season very much in front of UL Lafayette as far as being able to make they don't have to win the Sun Belt tournament to get in to the NCAAs. There are at-large bids out of the Sun Belt to be had there. Now, they made it last year by winning the Sun Belt tournament. That was last year. They went back to the tournament for the first time since 2016 when they had gone 4 times in a row. They were in College Station. If you remember, they beat TCU in the opening game, and then they lost to A&M and TCU. Matt Deggs is a coach. He took over in 2020. Of course, Tony Robichaux, who passed away, longtime coach in Lafayette, a guy I liked a lot. I'll be honest with you. I was a big Tony Robichaux fan. Loved the way he ran his teams. Loved the way he approached the game, approached the whole. Pretty much his approach to everything I liked, and it was a real tragedy we lost him as early as we did. But Matt Deggs, who's an alum, took over after 5 really good years at Sam Houston. They won 70% of their conference games when Deggs was at Houston. They made the NCAAs twice, and they actually won a regional. They won the regional when they were at Sam Houston in Lubbock in 2017. They came out of the losers bracket and beat Texas Tech twice. Just to give you an idea what it takes to come out of a losers bracket when you are on the road in an NCAA regional, it's really, really, really hard to do. Happens maybe once for a 3 seed like that. It happens once maybe every 2 years. So he won a regional down there, and came out of the losers bracket to do it. They lost to Florida State in the Super Regional. Throw 2020 out because it was the COVID year, his first year. His first season in Lafayette, they tied for first place in the West. They were 13-11 in the league last year. A lot of cancellations that year with the aftermath of COVID. Last year they were 19-11 in league play, and they made the Sun Belt tournament. And this year they're 10-5. So in Sun Belt play, so they've got an opportunity to be in the NCAAs. This is very easily a team. If they play well against Coastal, they play well against Southern Miss, play well against Texas State. Those three series I just told you about. The possibility is that one of those teams out of the Sun Belt could be here in a regional. Now, maybe it's even a super regional. If it's Coastal Carolina's got a top 10 RPI right now. Maybe some of these teams like Coastal and Southern Miss, that's a little bit too heavy, at least where they are right now, to send to the number one team in the country in a regional. Thinking more like Texas San Antonio, who's a 29, or Campbell, who's a 31, maybe Dallas Baptist, who's an 18. But possibility remains, as you can see, one of these teams in the postseason. So Jay Johnson yesterday wanted to give you this one about the bullpen because it's likely where Javen Coleman is headed once he's ready for SEC play, and tonight is a big step for that. Wouldn't expect to see him for very long, maybe an inning, 20 pitches, 25 pitches, whatever it's going to be. But if this goes well and he can make progression, it's a guy that can really add to the bullpen. And Johnson was talking about his bullpen yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you want to eliminate the free bases. I think if you have less than 6 free bases a game between walks, hit by pitches, stolen bases, you give yourself a great chance to win. I look at it a little bit differently. I look at the Tulane game on Tuesday, where I think we actually pitched better than our numbers and we won. I think the key to Saturday's game was, with the exception of one inning, all of those innings stayed to 1 run, and we left guys on base, which we were the masters of that last year. Like, that's how we survived the season, of keeping innings at 1 run. In a high leverage game, Saturday's game was the best job we did at that.
And Friday's game was one of the tougher ones, and it wasn't as much because of the pitching, which I thought was better than the line showed, especially on Griffin Herring, but a little bit on Ty Floyd too. It was on the defense, which has been really, really good for most of the season. Let them down a little bit in the game on Friday. So some different things we'll be watching for tonight, but it's a fun game when these teams are good. When LSU and Tulane are good, it's a fun midweek game. When LSU and UL Lafayette are both good, it's a fun midweek game. I'd expect to see a better than average crowd there tonight. It's just got a little bit more juice than, no offense to the other state schools, but those two schools have had postseason success, and it's just a little bit more up. And I think that this is the perfect spot to put Javen Coleman back in and see how he reacts in his first time by 14 months. Man, you think there's going to be a little bit of adrenaline going for him tonight. We'll take a break. Shay Dixon from On 3 is with us when we return. This is Hannytime 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $15,000 off all new 2022 1500 SCA trucks. And all new Bayou automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. If you need sales or service, the crew at Bayou is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown is back.
Join us on Saturday, April 22nd
at the Ochsner Medical Complex at The Grove. We've got cooking teams of pros and joes serving up their best jambalaya and Cajun Creole dishes, all while helping raise dough for local families battling cancer. Bring the whole family for great food, live tunes, and good times. Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown presented by Ochsner.
Saturday, April 22nd at lunchtime. Help us paddle it forward. For tickets and more information, go to clashofthecooks.com.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Jimmy Ott and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday edition of Game Time. Game Time from Doe's Eat Place on Government Street in the heart of Mid-City. It's Game Time Tuesday night, 6 to 8 p.m. right here at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
It's been great. Coach Wilson helps us with our shields. So that's kind of how we've divvied everything up. We've just really taken and assigned coaches to each area of our special teams. So it's been really good, been really productive. I think the kids are bought in and doing a great job.
John Jancic, the new special teams coordinator, talking this morning about how LSU handling special teams going forward. And we bring in Shay Dixon, our friend from On 3. Shay, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Charlie?
All right, fantastic. Before we get to women's basketball, which is, going to be the lead story, I'm going to bury the lead here a little bit on Van Lith and do a little football first. Is it okay if we do football before we do women's basketball? Because women's basketball is a bigger story right now.
You're correct, but I'm perfectly fine with some football first.
Okay. I wanted to play the quote because I wanted to get your thoughts on some of the things that Jancic said this morning and LSU's new approach to special teams.
Well, we had heard Kelly kind of say how they were dividing things up, and I guess it's also one of those things where we have to wait and see what the actual product looks like on the field. Brian Polian had been a special teams coordinator for many years, and the product wasn't great. So I think that is Brian Kelly going to see that it was an issue and fix it? Yes, he already moved Polian into that GM role and kind of overseeing things on the back end while moving Jancic up onto an on-field role where he's not only doing outside linebackers, but handling or kind of coordinating all of special teams. So clearly, if Brian Kelly thinks it's an issue, they're putting a lot of work into it this offseason, and I would be hard-pressed to believe that they can't get better because of kind of how bad it was, I guess, at least somewhere along the middle tier of SEC teams in terms of special teams production.
Yeah, and I thought they fixed some of the things as far as kick protection and stuff like that. The kick coverage, that's going to be an ongoing thing, but the kick returning, the punt returning was something that never got fixed last year, and something that, in my opinion, they're kind of starting from scratch on, which is fine. This was Jancic Tate on the punt and kick returners going forward.
We got a variety of guys back there. We're catching a lot of punts. Catching kickoffs. We put in some kickoff stuff today. It's an ongoing evaluation, but we feel good with the guys that we have back there. We have Greg, and then Kyle Parker's back there, Sage Ryan, Noah Kane. So there's a number of guys that are getting the work and the amount of reps that they need to get, so that we have a comfort level as punt returners and kick returners.
Which is all fine and good, Shea, but Aaron Anderson is the guy that was brought in to fix all of this stuff, and he's not available right now in the spring. So based on who you've seen besides Anderson, which we'll get an evaluation in August, anybody you like as a favorite in the kick and punt return derby?
Well, if he gives me those four options of guys he named, what was it, like Greg Clayton, Sage Ryan, Kyle Parker is a true freshman, and then Noah Kane. I wonder if he's talking more about Noah Kane on kick returns, not so much punt returns. But I like Kyle Parker and what he did coming out. I know Sage Ryan is a guy who was very good in high school, much like Aaron Anderson in the return game. The names are, and look, great. Hey, shout out Greg Clayton, right, Charlie? If it weren't for him, they would have never solved the issue last year. He was the only one that got back there and could catch it. So he's still in the mix. I'm gonna sound foolish here. I thought they never should have gone away from Malik Neighbors, and I know that he dropped two in that Florida State game, and special teams were costly. But I still think that he's your most dynamic receiver. Certainly, he could have done a lot for you in the return game. I don't know if I have a favorite right now. I'm more just kind of interested to see who they start to test out come fall camp, because it's very tough for me to believe that with that roster, they can't find a handful of guys that can both catch the football and do something with it in the return game.
Help me out. Did Sheldon Sampson return kicks at Catholic?
I don't think he did, or at least that wasn't a big part of it. Most of his numbers were from wide receiver.
Thought I'd ask. Okay.
But Jalen Brown did, and Jalen Brown's the fastest kid in their class. I'm surprised he's not a name maybe being mentioned, or maybe in the fall we keep an eye out for a guy like him.
And Anderson could come in and fix all of this. I mean, this is literally a one-person fix. The number of kickoffs that are being returned are pretty minimal now with the new rules anyway. They're not even new rules anymore. They've been in for a while. It's the punt return game. And one guy makes all the difference in the world. And if Anderson can be that guy, then largely the problem is solved. So maybe it may be something we just need to put off till the fall before we get real serious about who is actually going to be in that spot when they play Florida State. Let's talk about Mason Smith. Back out there today, and, the whole spring with him, and Womack too, I guess, has been hey, let's see what you can do. Let's bring you along slow. You're not going to be in anything that, involves a lot of contact. But what did you see out there today? How does he look?
We've seen him for most of the spring conditioning. He's just been off on the other field where, a lot of the injured guys are. Everything I've heard is that he was well ahead of recovery in terms of a timeline, and that I think him just putting on pads at all this spring points to the reality that, he's in a very good spot moving into what will be summer conditioning and workouts, and then back into fall camp, which I would think by fall camp he's probably a full go. You're almost a year out from the injury by then, and we're already seeing him run around and cut and, engage on the sleds and stuff like that. So I would like to believe that this is probably one of the storylines that no one's talking about. We're talking about it today because he came back to practice, but we forget after, Brian Kelly's first year that Mason Smith wasn't a part of any of that. And Mason Smith, beyond a Harold Perkins, is the best player on their football team. I firmly believe that. So getting that piece back on the defensive line in the SEC for me, Charlie, is such a big story. And you get to pair him with Mekhi Wingo, who was all world basically for him without Mason Smith.
Yeah, I was a big Mekhi Wingo fan, seeing as he played 104% of the snaps last year. I thought that was a lot to ask, and I thought he did a real good job with it. Shay, I'm going to do we're doing a podcast with Gordy tomorrow on just kind of a pre-spring game primer, And so I asked him, I stuck my head in his office and said, hey, you go for the podcast on Wednesday? He said, yeah, we're good. I said, what did you think of the corners? And 45 minutes later, I was still in his office because there's a lot of them. So you tell me, with the influx of corners, and I know that, everybody's kind of got their thoughts about it. What are yours about how the pecking order at corner has sorted itself out through spring?
It's a little bit more blurry, I think, than a year ago. But I said when Kelly took over, more than any room, corner was a multi-year rebuild, and that's come to fruition. Last year, they were carried by transfers who played very well, Mekhi Garner, Bernard Converse, guys like that. This year, are they going to be carried by transfers again? I mean, boy, did they go heavy with Denver Harris, who, if he's got everything in line, is arguably the most talented person that's going to be out there. So you'd like to pencil him in. You've got Zy Alexander out of Southeastern, who's got plenty of experience. It was just at the FCS level, though he dominated. J.K. Johnson, coming from Ohio State, was kind of in and out of their lineup. And then obviously Deuce Chestnut, coming from Syracuse, has been an excellent player up there the past 2 years, and might be more of a nickel type with that versatility. But he hasn't been out there this spring, so we don't know what's going on there. And you've only got one guy coming back, like Terrence Welsh, from last year's roster in the corner room. What makes it kind of sticky and tough to predict right now for me, Charlie, is they signed like 4 high school DBs, something in that range, and all of them are playing corner and safety, minus Ryan Yates. So, like, Toviano is playing corner. Stamps can play corner. Jeremiah Hughes is playing corner. So you've got a lot of options there, and because we don't get to watch full practices, we don't really know maybe in the spring who they're reffing more than anyone else. But my guess is Denver Harris, and then fill it in from there. I would probably lean J.K. Alexander.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, Zy Alexander from Southeastern.
And I think it's an interesting point that you make that, they filled it with transfers a year ago. There's some transfers in this class too, obviously, but they don't necessarily have to be one and dones, the way that they were last year. You get the feeling that, a couple of them have to, and a couple of them are going to have the option to stick around here for more than a year.
Well, I think the one you hope sticks around for more than a year is Denver Harris, because he's got 2 years of eligibility left, and he's the guy who, like I said, if everything's going right for him, he's a first-round draft pick. He's been that way since he was in high school. It's just about putting it all together. So we see what happens maybe, like you said. A year ago, would we have said Garner, Bernard Converse were going to leave and be draft picks? I know Bernard Converse eligibility was up, but a guy like Garner comes in and ups his stock enough to leave right away. And you're always going to battle that. That's just going to be the reality of it. But the good news there, Charlie, is you can only leave early for the draft if you're going to be drafted kind of high, and you only get drafted kind of high if you played really well. So I think I'll take that trade-off if that means that one of these guys can have a really big season that's good enough to push him into the top 3 or 4 rounds.
Tell me everything you know about Haley Van Lith, the Louisville all-conference player, averaged just under 20 points a game last season, all-ACC multiple times. They lost to Iowa in the Elite Eight. Caitlin Clark kind of had words with her as well. So the whole off-season dynamic here is, does she want to go team up with Clark, or does she want to go against Clark? She's in town right now on an official visit. Shay, what do you know about how deep her interest is in actually coming to LSU?
So here's the best part about being able to talk women's basketball recruiting, I guess, in this sense, with you on this show. We're all learning about this in real time, right? Like Kim Mulkey comes in, flips the program, wins the national championship, and all of a sudden everyone, kind of is the casual fan and up is familiar with who's on the roster, who might be coming in. And Van Lith, look, they signed the number 1 recruiting class in the country. That's already done. They're coming to campus. Michaela Williams out of North Louisiana is the number 2 prospect in the country and potential instant starter for you. But now you look into the portal, and boy, a year ago, all those girls that they got out of the portal, how big were they? Jasmine Carson, Angel Reese, Kateri Poole, Deja Williams. You're not winning a national championship without them. So if you can go back in the portal and get a few pieces this time, that would be a massive boost. And boy, look, right away, Van Lith, the number one prospect that's in the portal, averaging 20 a game, like you say, a all ACC player of the year, all ACC's first team selection 2 years in a row, and is considered without a doubt one of the top 5 to 10 basketball players that are, still out there in the women's game that are returning next year. So you pull this off, is the biggest off-season storyline you can have in the portal. What makes it even more intriguing than the dynamic of Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark and everybody else, and now Van Lith kind of all getting some national pub, is when Van Lith committed out of high school, she was a top 10 prospect in the same class as Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and a number of other girls that are pretty high-profile players. And she was down to 2. She was down to Louisville and Baylor, and she went to Louisville. And Kim Mulkey certainly knows her and her family well. If she finished in the top 2 for a top 10 prospect then. And I think that when Van Lith enters the portal, Charlie, and puts a no contact tag, meaning that nobody can reach out to her, she does the calling and she does the setting up of visits. For her, to come down to Baton Rouge almost immediately tells me a lot about what their chances are, and I think that are pretty good.
She's got to deal with Adidas. LSU's obviously a Nike school. That can't be a deal breaker. She wouldn't even be here on a visit. How big of a deterrent do you think that is? Is that a problem at all?
Here's what makes me think it's not a problem. And obviously the landscape of NIL is growing and growing, and girls are getting in, men are getting different deals left and right. But I would point to, and from talking to Pete Nakos, the On3 college business kind of reporter for everything involving NIL, we were talking about this, and he said, look, there's so many options these agents deal with, whether it's trimming down the Adidas deal some, whether it's separating with them, or whether it's just keeping it and doing what Flau'jae Johnson does right now with the Puma deal. You don't wear Puma in any stuff that's getting photoed by the school because they're Nike, and when you're on your own, you can wear all the Puma you want. That's just sort of how it is with these shoe companies, I think, in terms of them having some staying power early on with men and women's NIL deals.
I've got this vision in my head of Michael Jordan covering up the Reebok logo when he was at the Olympics for the Dream Team. I ain't wearing that. So he ended up draping a flag over the Reebok logo because, Nike's made him a billionaire. There was one other women's basketball player. I didn't even prep you for this, but DePaul forward Anessa Morrow, 2-time All-Big East selection, is another name that's been mentioned as potentially. She's in the transfer portal, as potentially coming to LSU. Anything new on her?
Interesting that you say that. I'd asked Matthew Bruni, who covers our women's basketball and men's basketball teams and recruiting this morning, kind of what he had heard, because he had been saying, hey, look, Van Lith is going to come at some point this week. And that was the other visitor he mentioned, potentially being on campus within the next week or here soon. And I believe that she is ranked as one of the top available portal players. So those two are the two names with Van Lith that sort of everybody's monitoring right now in terms of who LSU might get into the portal from that top end and get really involved with.
What's up next on 3? What's coming up?
I guess we're going to be covering women's basketball.
Well, yeah.
We'll have that. Look, the spring games this weekend, they're going to have a lot of football recruits in. So I think we're getting closer to hearing some more names pop and potentially be commitments into this 2024 class. There are 12 commits right now, and I think that number is going to grow a bit more before the summer arrives. So it'll be a big recruiting weekend. So we'll certainly have a lot of stuff on both the team and in the recruits. Here, look, I Googled it while we were waiting there, or while I was talking, I should say. Van Lith is ranked by ESPN as the number 1 transfer. Anissa Morrow out of DePaul is ranked by ESPN as the number 2 transfer.
Okay, well, if LSU gets those two, then it'll be a very successful transfer portal season, I think, for Kim Mulkey. All right, since they're going to get recruits this weekend, you got to come back next week. So we'll just pencil you in, Shay.
All right, it's a deal, and I'll study up on women's basketball. I'll come back with more.
Thanks a lot. Shay Dixon from On3. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Dwayne Colucci out in Vegas. It's playoff time in basketball and on the ice. This is Hannytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime.
Infinity of Baton Rouge. We had a terrific experience just less than 2 months ago, going back to buy another vehicle from Infinity of Baton Rouge. Love the certified pre-owned program. There's just so many benefits to it. When you can go in and have the size inventory that they have, you're going to be able to match your price, your age, your mileage, your model, all of those things that you want. You're going to be able to pinpoint them to a specific vehicle that's right for you and your family. And then once you get into that pre-owned program, you're going to know that that vehicle has been through an extensive inspection to get it back up to standards. It's going to have a 100,000-mile warranty attached to it. You're going to get that first year of maintenance free, and you're going to have roadside assistance attached to it. I love the courtesy cards they give you when you bring your vehicle in from maintenance. It makes it so easy. Right now, Infinity will buy your car right off the street. You can get a quote in less than 15 minutes. So do what we do in our family. When we're looking for another vehicle, it's Airline Highway, Acura, and Infinity of Baton Rouge.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Each year, Guarantee Media hosts a radiothon to benefit Dreams Come True, the local organization that grants dreams to Louisiana kids suffering life-threatening illnesses and their families. We've interviewed these incredible kids, and their stories warm our hearts. And none of it would be possible without your help. So we're asking for your support in our effort to making more dreams come true. Each year, our Dreams Come True radiothon is powered by the Baton Rouge Clinic. Visit GuaranteeMedia.com to pledge your support today, and thank you.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown is back.
Join us on Saturday, April 22nd
at the Ochsner Medical Complex at the Grove. We've got cooking teams of pros and Joes serving up their best jambalaya and Cajun Creole dishes, all while helping raise dough for local families battling cancer. Bring the whole family for great food, live tunes, and good times. Clash of the Cooks Jambalaya Showdown presented by Ochsner.
Saturday, April 22nd at lunchtime.
On Wednesdays, OTB. We got the head man of LSU football, Brian Kelly, joining us. Plus, Matt Flynn returns for some Listerine. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is Hannytime with Charles Hannegriff on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
NBA and NHL playoffs in full swing now. We bring in our friend Dwayne Colucci from the South Point and the Rampart out in Las Vegas. Colucci, what was the sports book last night like when Draymond was stomping his way around over the Kings last night?
Let me tell you, I can't figure this guy out, Charlie. I'll be honest with you. You know, I guess the bonus kind of it was a dirty play.
He hooked
Did
him,
grab
yeah.
his ankle.
Sabonis asked for Sabonis. I don't say Sabonis asked for it, but Sabonis grabbed his leg. Grabbed his foot. There's no question about it. It's dirty play on top of dirty play. But go on.
Correct. Yeah, and definitely, the reaction is always an overreaction. That's the problem. And, I know Draymond is trying to fire his team up, especially on the road, because they've been so poor on the road, and it's playing out in the playoffs. I mean, this team can just not win away from home. And, Draymond, he's a rah-rah type of guy. He's very excitable. You know how he gets, talks a lot of smack. So, it was dirty play after dirty play. I think the reaction was a little severe. I mean, he could have just stepped on him without, basically using him as a springboard. But, it shows that there's a lot of heart and emotion in this series. And definitely DeAndre and the boys are getting under, Curry and his team's skin. And they shot fabulous, Curry and Thompson. But then for the last 3-4 minutes, everything seemed to tighten up. And Sacramento, again, seized control, and they have ultimate control of this playoff series right now. And, they're definitely capable of winning a game on the road if mentally Curry isn't there or Draymond Green.
Are the Warriors still a public team? I almost feel foolish asking that. I mean, these are the 4-time champs and the defending champs, but they are not the higher seed here. And while they've been the favorite, they were the favorite last night. They're down 0-2 for the first time in the Curry era. Are they still garnering the type of public backing that they normally do?
Well, definitely they did last night. I mean, most of the wagers were on Golden State, and they were looking for them to bounce back. So, yeah, Charlie, I would say, especially in my end of the country, they still are a focal team. When you have superstars like Curry and LeBron James on the north end of California and the south end, not only in Reno are you going to get a ton of Golden State money, but you're going to get a lot in Las Vegas as well because of the proximity and the location and the superstar power. And everybody really wants to see this big three, gel once again. Everybody's hoping and rooting for Thompson to return to what levels he was at prior to those massive injuries. And Draymond, he's always an excitable boy. And you have a flashy coach there, and the Lakers on the southern end. Everybody's going to back them, that. But first game, everybody was drinking the John Morant juice. We went from 3.5 in that Laker game to 5.5. So it's a lot different now. The handicapping is starting to become more prominent as opposed to wearing your heart on your sleeve. So, yeah, these are public teams, but they're not sharp teams.
Did you get a pop in that Grizzlies-Lakers game when Davis went to the bench and the lip readers were out where he's saying, I can't feel my arm? I mean, it seemed like online that there was a rush to, okay, well, if Davis is out, we're piling in on Memphis.
Well, you got to see these, the difference in sports I always like to compare. You have Brock Purdy out there. He can't throw the ball or move his arm at all, and he's getting crushed by linemen and handing the ball off. And then you have street clothes Davis who, he gets tapped and, I can't move my arm. I can't do this. Meanwhile, he returned back to the game. So, I don't. Laker fans are very excitable as well. They know what to expect with Davis. They know what to expect with LeBron. They got some excellent play down the stretch from, role players that Reeves, unbelievable. I mean, the kid definitely could stroke it. And, Hachimura there played as well, off the hook. Didn't he graduate Gonzaga? If I'm not correct, Charlie. He played off the hook. He was taking turnaround jumpers like Bernard King. So, the Lakers are definitely the public and focal team. Everybody was riding them down the stretch to get into the play-in and hopefully get into the playoffs. We have a good futures market at them. On them at big odds. So, a lot of people were moaning and groaning, but they expect what's coming out of Anthony Davis right now. You always have to look at the injuries. He is very injury prone, similar to a guy who plays in your end of the country, Zion Williamson.
Hey, listen, Anthony Davis is Cal Ripken compared to Zion Williamson,
well,
okay?
You've said that before, but
I'm waiting to be proven wrong.
Yeah, you guys unloaded him, and let's see where his heart is. He's got to play through these little quirks that he has, just like Mr. James, the captain of his team. LeBron almost plays through anything. LeBron James is the Iron Man of the NBA, and that's another, point that people don't look at when you do comparisons of greatest all time, the durability of James. He plays through the injuries. He's the heart and soul of the Lakers. Davis is the great complementary player, but as you see, you have to have these other role players that definitely need to be a factor, and that will make them win games, and they could definitely win this series, especially with John Morant with a broken basic hand.
Let's talk about the Clippers and the Suns, because Phoenix faces an 0-2 deficit if they lose tonight going to L.A. I thought, and I have not seen every game that he's played out there, but watching game one, I thought that was the best I had ever seen, me personally, Kawhi Leonard in a Clippers uniform. He looked like the Kawhi Leonard that was at his absolute best when he was winning finals MVPs in San Antonio and Toronto. And I was reminded of just how dominant a player he could be if he just get on the damn floor. But now the load management stuff is certainly working in their favor, because Kawhi Leonard looked like the best player. Maybe, I don't know if I saw anybody that was better than him all weekend. I mean, he's certainly right there. So must win tonight, I think, for Phoenix.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you could see, and they're doing it without Paul George, his, Batman and Robin scenario there. And Russell Westbrook played fabulous defense down the stretch. Let's give the guy some credit. I mean, forget about all the shooting. He was just there. He was playing unbelievable. He shut Booker down, and Kawhi did look as good as he's looked possibly back to his San Antonio Spurs days. I mean, he was just draining wild threes, and they were right in his face. And when you have Kawhi playing at that level, 3 for 5 from three-point range, he hit 9 out of 10 foul shots, 13 of 24 field goals, you're going to win a lot of games, because this guy also is a two-way player that plays great defense. You get the complementary scoring from Gordon, a little rebounding out of Zubac. Westbrook plays within himself. This is a tough out right now. And Booker looked like they were definitely in his head. I mean, if you look at that last play, Charlie, he's complaining to the ref while the play is still going, and Westbrook is throwing it off his leg to retain the ball. So Russell Westbrook has a better mindset, in my opinion, right now than Devin Booker, which is unheard of. And then you're not going to Durant down the stretch. So I think there's got to be a few coaching quirks. I think the Suns are definitely going to come to play tonight. I mean, you could see the line. We're up to 8 at the Rampart and South Point from the 7.5 opener, 227 on the total. So the public is definitely looking for a high-scoring affair. They had 225 the last game, but there was a lot of defense down the stretch, especially by the Clippers. But I totally agree with you, Charlie. As long as Kawhi and the load management definitely plays a factor here, because he did not look winded at all. So, if this guy, just comes to play every night, and like I said, they got several guys. I didn't even mention Powell and a few others off the bench. They're going to be tough to beat. The Suns must win this game tonight. On the Suns end, Ayton looked very good. I mean, 18 points. He was 8 for 16. He made those mid-range jumpers. They need more out of Durant and more out of Booker, and that's surprising, because combined they had 53 points. So they're going to definitely have to step it up.
All right, this is your time of year, man. The ice is ready for the playoffs, and we started last night. We got 4 game ones tonight, Kaluch. Give me your best one. Give me your best 2. Give me your best, Kaluch. Give me your best on the ice tonight. Who you like?
Okay, I'm going to go with the Devils tonight. Try and keep them winning streak or that trend going, where they've kind of owned the Rangers this year. I think they've outplayed them in several games in the regular season. Vanacek is going to have to outduel Shesterkin, which is very difficult. We're sitting at minus 125 on the Devils at home at Prudential. Total is at 6, over favored 120 with these 2 fabulous goaltenders. Now, don't get me wrong, the Rangers have that superstar lineup. They made those acquisitions of Tarasenko, Patrick Kane down the stretch. You have the young kids line that has really peaked and carried them towards the end of the season with some great play out of Lafreniere, Kako, and Hedel and those guys. So definitely this is going to be a great series, similar to what you saw last night between Minnesota and Dallas and L.A. and Edmonton. But I'm going to take the Devils. They have to win this first game, because you don't want to go back to the Garden. Having to win a game. It's very difficult to win in Madison Square Garden during this time of the season. The crowd just gets ridiculous. There's going to be a lot of Ranger fans in New Jersey as well. But I think this Devil team with Jack Hughes could definitely get it done. They know how to play the Rangers style hockey, and they definitely have a chance. You know I'm going to the Fortress tonight, and, Mark Stone is suiting up. They said Carrier is going to be back. Laurent Francois has been off the hook. I can't believe I'm seeing all these professional handicappers pick the Winnipeg Jets in this series. I'll tell you right now, I think the Knights are going to get healthy, and they're going to win this series. So I'm going to bet the Golden Knights. They have to get off to a quick start tonight. I think that the revitalization of Jack Eichel and Stone coming back is a major factor. The crowd is going to be off the hook. So I'm looking for the Golden Knights to put up a big performance. Have to overcome, though, the best goaltender possibly in the world in Connor Hellebuck. This guy, at times is just dominating and will shut you down, similar to what he did down the stretch, Charlie. He was phenomenal and got them into this playoff position. But let's remember, they're the last wild card, and the Vegas Golden Knights won the Western Conference.
In Colucci, we trust. All right, I got the Golden Knights. I got the Devils. By the way, last Thursday night when you gave us the Devils and they were down 3-0, never doubted you for a second. They win 5-4 in overtime. Rocking chair, man. Colucci, you the best, man. We'll talk to you Thursday. Thanks a lot.
Love you, Charlie. Thanks for having me on, buddy.
Dwayne Colucci from the South Point and the Rampart. We'll come back and wrap things up here. Hannytime, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime.
Big Mike's got the we got our jitterbug lessons continuing again this Thursday night. Mario has become a professional, I think, over the last 6 or 7 weeks. That starts at 6 o'clock tonight at Big Mike's. Of course, you want your hot ball crawfish. You're coming out every day at 11 a.m. That's 7 days a week. And we got happy hour from 3 to 7, Monday through Friday, and all day on Sunday. If you're going out to watch baseball on one of the 40 TVs, you're going out to watch the NBA playoffs, you watch golf, watch the NASCAR, do it at Big Mike's. Off-site catering is available. If you want for your private events to rent out one of the party rooms at Big Mike's, got multiple sizes that you can choose from no matter what the size of your event. They can take care of you. The Denham Springs tradition with the Denham Springs Hall of Fame right in the front of the restaurant on Aspen Boulevard in Denham. Big Mike's, we're kind of a big deal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
For over a century, local broadcasting has evolved with the needs of the community. We move past the stigmas of opinion journalism and bring the most relevant news online, on air, and on the go. You have trusted us with your news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Trust us to keep moving with you. Text TB to 52886 and tell Congress local broadcasting is here to stay.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Wednesday edition of Hannytime. We take a look back at the Tigers and Raging Cajuns from Alec Box. We have Scott Rabelais on the show and first class, second class, no class. Hannytime, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hannytime with Charles Hanniger on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Handycast podcast today is on the draft as we're a little over a week out. Thanks to everybody for participating, for Mario Perez and for Jacob Beck. I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance, with the latest in